What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Dropping Dimes, the show where we talk about all things basketball. I'm your host, Rodrigo, but you can call me Rod. And joining me, he is the president of the Pacific Northwest. He's storming into action. Lars, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing excellent. How are you going, Rod?
Good, good. Are you also getting this beautiful Pacific Northwest weather with all the rain and everything?
Well, I will say this weekend it was absolutely gorgeous, and then we
It
came back
was.
to the reality of the overcast and rain, which I don't
Yeah.
mind so much. But it's been pretty torrential most of the day.
It's been a drier year so far, which I don't mind. But then summertime comes and it gets a little too dry. So yeah, the rain is actually a good thing for a region at least.
I guess I'll take it.
Yeah, and shout out to the eastern side of Canada that is still getting like snow dumps and whatnot.
Oh boy, yeah. I'm glad I moved away
Blessings to
from a
them.
place where it hurts to live.
I heard there's a thing called the snow tax or something like that. For people that live in that little corner. Gorgeous, and a lot of the action happens there. But man, does it get cold there?
Listen, if I never had to be in winter again, I'd be okay.
Right? It's not something that once you experience it, you go like, yeah, I'm okay without it.
Yeah, I've done that. I've been there. I'm
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
I'm gonna go to an area that just skips the worst seasons.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to the Pacific Northwest. All right, Lars, it's just you and I. Blake is somewhere in Japan, I think Tokyo. I'm not sure. And then we have DMPs. No, I'm not. It's not DMPs. They're riding the bench right now, Leo and Tate. But you and I are gonna bang this thing out. We're gonna have a March Madness recap because on the women's side it's over. Today it's gonna be over for the gentlemen. And then we're gonna put our playoff hats on because the playoffs are just literally around the corner. It's gonna be exciting. Yeah, there we
Let's
go.
do it.
All right. So let's start with our March Madness wrap up. We saw the Yukon Huskies taking their 12th national championship yesterday in a dominating fashion against South Carolina. I mean, seeing Paige Beckers just dominating the entire tournament, the entire Yukon team, it was a thing to admire, honestly, because so far it's been that a complete domination from LSU, from South Carolina, great programs. But to see Yukon sort of coming back to that place of greatness, it was great. And just the entire story around Paige Beckers and Gina Orema, absolutely great. I don't know if there's anything else to add, honestly. What a perfect run.
Oh, it was fantastic. I mean, if you think about nobody is shedding a tear for UConn. Gino
No.
has won ad nauseum to the point that it almost, some people would say it almost ruined women's basketball because there was no competition. But loving the way that Dawn Staley and her crew came up, loving the way that LSU has showed up, and like you're getting more personalities, you're getting more faces involved in the action. But I will say, looking at AZ Fudd, looking at Paige Beckers, knowing their backstory, at the beginning of the season, I kind of felt like a little bit bad for them because the injuries that have plagued them, the way that they should have been great and couldn't. And it was like 9 years between championships for them.
That's right.
But now we have multiple teams in the running, which I'm super excited about. We've got AZ Fudd's coming back to UConn. Sarah Strong was outstanding coming back to UConn. So like now you're going to get some of those, like more of those rivalries, which I'm super psyched about.
And we still have UCLA in the running. USC, I'm not sure. I lost track. Has Juju hasn't declared for the draft, has she?
She has not. I would
and
not
with
be
this,
surprised if she did, though.
But now with this upcoming with the injury, I don't know. Does she take another year, which is not a bad thing. We've seen many women just going back to their college and finishing off strong, and then just making the jump. Especially now with the NIL, we've covered that part.
Especially now with the NIL,
yes. So
I mean, you look at somebody like Paige Beckers, and people are like, "Oh, she had to come back in order to go on her revenge tour because she had the opportunity to win and got hurt, and then she lost to Caitlin Clark." And I'm like, "No, this was not a revenge tour for her. This was just the feather in her cap. Like it was a perfect send off for her."
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
If she stays, if Juju stays, I would not falter. If she goes to the W, I would not falter. Like I'm super psyched for her. I just want to see her play more ball. She is so much fun to watch.
100%. Yeah. No, it's gonna be so exciting. This upcoming class, the next few classes, I think it's just gonna be so exciting for the W, right? And I mean, very quickly speaking of the W, I gave her a shout on our stories, but Elena Delle Donne, she announced her retirement just a couple of days back. I mean, what a career, honestly. And
Unbelievable.
I didn't even
Unbelievable.
touch on her collegiate career where she decided to go back to Delaware, to where she's from, play for a smaller college, took them to the Sweet 16, and then went to the W, played for the Chicago Sky, and then led the Washington Mystics to their first championship. She's been vocal about her support for her sister Lizzie, who deals with cerebral palsy and autism, and she battles with Lyme disease, which honestly was what kept her apart for all those years. Electrifying player. If you haven't seen her, just quickly YouTube her, Elena Delle Donne.
Definitely.
She's honestly one of the best point forwards slash small forwards that I've seen in the game, period.
Yeah. Yep. Guys or girls, completely agreed. A couple other things I did want to touch on, just looking at the play on the court during that final, how UConn genuinely dismantled South Carolina, which I did not
100%.
expect or see coming. But the path to getting there, UConn ran through 3 number ones to get there. And then that was their 12th, let me get this right, their 12th 20-point win in the Final Four. And every other team combined has only had 11 of those. So it's just like this return to dominance for UConn. It's so amazing to see happen. I think they only made 1 3 in the first half, and yet they utterly dismantled that team.
Like you said, I did not expect UConn to dominate South Carolina. Excellent coach, excellent program. Yes, the talent, you could argue was on UConn's side a lot more, but still, there's a reason why South Carolina made it to the final. So it was just such a perfect run from UConn. Like, that's the perfect way to end your career. If you're Paige Bueckers, like you said, the feather in the cap, right? It wasn't a revenge tour. It was just like the perfect way to go out into the W.
Absolutely. And if you're going to be great, you got to have one. If you're going to be great in women's basketball at UConn, you got to get one of them. So
it's a rite of passage. I feel like, if you sign up for UConn, you will at least get one. At least.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move over to the gentlemen, because, oh my word, what happened over the weekend? Our boy Cooper Flagg, who he doesn't follow us yet, but you see our stories before the game, Coop, and I hope that didn't throw you off. But oh my word, what happened between Duke and Houston was I am speechless. This is the first time in a long time that I feel speechless about a game, let alone collegiate or professional or my Monday runs. I was just speechless.
What happened? Coach Scheyer was talking about the fact that he felt that he did not help them enough. They never got into that situation all year. They were the number 1 offense in the country. So they never had those close in-game scenarios that they could really practice. They never needed to. But what this really showed me was that a bunch of old guys can come in and often do beat teams full of lottery picks, because that Houston team is experienced. The coach is incredibly experienced. They've been in those tough situations before, and it really showed. I think there was some ridiculous stat that like the entire team runs an average like 5-minute, 20 some odd second mile, which is just incomprehensible. The entire team all together. So like between the speed, the intensity, the experience, and the know-how, the ice cold in the veins from Jawan, who like shooting those free throws at the end, like they had to play flawless in order to pull off that win, and they absolutely did when it mattered most.
I think that game, if you're a coach or just a fan of the game, you keep the last 5 minutes saved somewhere on your hard drive, and then you show them to your friends that don't know basketball, or to your young players that you're tutoring and mentoring them, and saying, when we say that someone wants a game and they take it away from someone, that's it. That is it. Houston was relentless, but they were controlled. They were poised. They did all the right things, and they played team basketball. It was a win by committee, and not just, a I'm not throwing shit at Cooper Flag, but they didn't need someone to that stature, that
Yeah,
took over.
yeah.
It was the entire team.
I joke with some of my friends talking ball about like the epithets that people throw around, like, oh, how did he win? He must have wanted it more. And like, I think those are ridiculous statements in general. But when they show up and when they speak true, it's hard to deny. Like that was clearly an example of will over skill.
Yeah.
Like Duke was the more skilled team, but I hate to say it, but it felt like Houston just wanted it more and they knew what they had to do to get it done. And so in that scenario, that statement makes perfect sense. And that's the one that you, like you said, you save that on your hard drive. You show that to people. You have people go and study that. Like what made them stand out? How did they win this game? Everybody, except for Houston fans sitting at home watching this expected Duke to come out with the win.
That I think you just the thing that I'm on a couple of groups, as I'm sure that you are and we all are, but the people that after the fact go like, oh yeah, no, like you said, they throw you back those stats like, yeah, Houston was the number one offense. I'm not surprised. I'm like, you're lying. We were all watching the game. I watched it, after it happened, so I knew already the result, but I was watching like, there's no way that someone can convince me, unless you're a Houston alumni, fan, faculty, in any way associated to the University of Houston, that thought there was a chance for them to come back, and yet they did.
Yeah. Now, I will say that Houston is incredibly impressive for a number of reasons. They also have a really good offense, and I believe that they're the only D1 Division I team without a loss when they go down by double digits this season.
That is crazy.
They're only 3-0 in those situations because they've never let them.
Right.
They don't let it happen often, but they knew what they had to do in order to come back, and they did it to perfection. They had to.
And I don't want to not talk about Florida and Auburn, but it wasn't as electric. It was a good game. But
the crazy part is that was a fantastic game.
Yeah.
And had this other game not happened, that would have been all the talk about it.
100%. And I think my favorite part was seeing all the reactions from Charles Barkley as he saw his beloved Auburn going down yet again. But we're just a few moments from the national championship between Florida and Houston. And Lars, after these electric games over the weekend, who do you have cutting the net down at the end?
Now, this has been kind of tough for me. I've been doing a little bit of research. Walter Clayton Jr. has been incredibly impressive. He's the first player since Larry Bird to have scored at least 30 points in the Elite Eight and in the Final Four. He's going to be the best player on the floor tonight, period. But the question is, what happens when they get behind? Like Florida has had a habit of letting themselves get behind. And I worry if they let themselves get too far behind, that defense from Houston is going to eat them up. However, in order to like close that gap, they've had to get rebounds and get possession of the ball. And they're the third best rebounding team in the country. So with that said, I think I'm leaning towards Florida.
I was leaning Florida in the beginning, but if you're Houston right now, you don't need pre-workout today. Like you can run through a wall and whatever coach says, you do it tenfold, right?
Absolutely.
Like you're feeling really good about yourself today, and that confidence must be through the roof. As long as it doesn't get into cockiness and they kind of let the foot off the pedal, because that could happen as well. I mean, there's a reason why they went down against Duke. Besides talent, they were not executing as they were normally, and finding themselves in that hole, they were still composed. So I think even if Florida gets ahead a little bit, they will keep that composure. They were there against Duke, against arguably the most talented team in the tournament. So why not? I will not write them off until the final buzzer, and so I'm gonna ride with Houston.
All right, I respect that. If Houston wins, they will have taken down the number one offense and the number two offense in the country. So what they say, defense wins championships. Let's see what's happening.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean, also it would be nice to. This might be. I will be probably mistaken, but would this be their first national championship?
Yeah, they've gotten there before, but they've never won it. So I think this will be their first time.
It's always good to see. When I don't have a horse in the race, it's always nice to see a new champion for sure.
Sure.
And I don't care anymore. Duke is out, Michigan State is out, so I couldn't care less. All right, so that's our March Madness wrap up. What a month! Incredible athletes, incredible tournament. Although I will say, my final piece here is that I do think, and we talked about it, the NIL changed the dynamic of the tournament. So don't expect as many Cinderella stories. I'm just saying we talked
Here's
about
my
it,
thought.
and
My
yeah,
my parting thought on that. You're completely right, and we talked about this. NIL has changed the game. However, that two sets of games in the Final Four were incredible. So if we're getting that quality of play in the end, do I care about a Cinderella? Like, yes, I do. Don't get me wrong. I love a great story. I want to have Cinderellas potentially, but like if we're gonna get great basketball in its stead, I'm okay with that. There are storylines that we're going to be able to find. So,
I mean, yeah,
you
I,
can't deny those were great games.
they
Two
were
great
they were, but and maybe it's just a change. Maybe like human nature, right? We don't embrace change right away. But do I miss that Florida Gold Coast against you know uh, Duke, and then Florida Gold Coast maybe gone into the run? Um, Maybe I do. Maybe I miss that random dude in the middle of nowhere college making a run. So, but they were great games. I'll give you that for sure.
We have a guest who
Yeah,
did not want to remain outside of the recording studio, so
that's all
he's here with
right.
me for the moment.
Future Dropping Dimes member for sure.
Indeed. But let's continue.
Let's continue then. All right, we're gonna pivot now. See what I did there? To the Wild Wild West, and Will Smith would be proud of me making that reference. But guys, is it ever crazy? I cannot remember. It's been tight for sure. There's been a couple of seasons where the last few games of the season matters, but this is absolutely wild. Where in the Western Conference, the difference between the number 3 seed, that is the Lakers as of April 7th, and the number 8 pick, which is currently the Memphis Grizzlies, is just 2 games. Two games. It's crazy. And they all play each other in some way or fashion. Like, this is not over yet until potentially the last game of the season. I'll quickly run through the seedings. Number 1, OKC, it's a done deal. They're not going to go anywhere. Same with Houston. They're not going anywhere. I mean, potentially the mathematical scenario exists, but they are number 2. Yeah. Then we have the Lakers with 48 and 30. Then the Denver Nuggets, 47 and 32. The Clippers, Golden State Warriors, Minnesota Timberwolves, and Memphis Grizzlies. That's number 5 and number 8 with 46 and 32. And then the Sacramento Kings, and then the Dallas Mavericks, who are pretty much settled into that play-in scenario.
Yeah.
So my question to you, Lars, is there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams in the running for a better seeding. And no, actually 2, 4, 6 teams, counting the Lakers. But everything could change. And right now, only Minnesota and Memphis are in play-in scenario. But who do you think might end up in that play-in?
I can't. I have no idea. Everything is just moving around. I mean, obviously, Dallas and Sacramento, they're pretty much locked in play-in. So the question is between that 4-way tie, which I think is the 3-way tie and the one afterwards. So that's the Warriors, the Nuggets, the Clippers, the Timberwolves, and the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are going the wrong direction. I think they're going to stay in the play-in. But aside from them, any one of these other 4 teams can be in the play-in. I don't expect it to be, looking at their schedule, I don't expect it to be Golden State. I do expect them to keep themselves out of the play-in. I expect, simply by virtue of the fact that they have Nikola Jokic on their team, that Denver stays out, which leaves the Clippers and the Timberwolves. And I flip a coin.
I don't know, man. Like, I also had Denver, staying out of the play-in, but then there's been already, 3 games, if not 2 at least, where you have Nikola Jokic dropping incredible numbers,
Incredible. When he
stats
scores
that
over
we
50,
haven't
they
seen,
lose.
and they lose.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Westbrook, blowing up a layup, or just the team. The other night he was visibly frustrated in the bench with the team, which is, I mean, if I'm a player of his magnitude and my team is playing like that and we're not winning, I'll also be frustrated. So I was trying to make sense and give an objective take, but I'm afraid that I'm joining you in that. I don't know. The only team that makes sense to stay in the play-in, I agree, is the Grizzlies. They're trending in the wrong direction. There's already rumors about Ja, his future, and all that. The Timberwolves, they've won 5 in a row. They're arguably between them and the Clippers, the hotter teams right now.
Yep.
And their schedules are not so bad. So,
Yeah, like they'll be fine. The question is with Denver. I'm siding on the side of Nikola Jokic, honestly, because realistically, since that unfortunate gaffe from Westbrook, where he missed the layup and then he also committed the foul and they end up losing that game, they've been 1-4 since. No, they've been 0-4. They've lost.
They're 0-4. Yeah.
And then playoff Murray, he's been injured since the 27th with a hamstring. They've been 1-4 since he's been out, and I genuinely believe in playoff Murray. Like, I think he is actually the engine that makes this team really scary. Like, Nikola Jokic is scary in and of himself, but if they can't get him back seriously, I worry about what they're going to be able to do in the playoffs. However, that's when they get to the playoffs. I really do think that they're just going to be able to hold it together just enough to stay out of the play-in. But I mean, I guess you're kind of right in the sense that who can you depend on that team to score consistently other than Jokic? Like, they have no consistency around them. No offense towards your people, but they remind me of the Lakers. Like, they can be world beaters in one game, and then the next game they could lose by 12 for no reason.
Yeah. It's very interesting what is happening right now with the Nuggets, where, I mean, yes, Murray's out, but Michael Porter Jr., he's been pretty consistent, and Aaron Gordon, but then you have, these wild cards in Russell Westbrook, in, the bench that is not as deep as it used to be. And they're facing their last games are against the Rockets, the Grizzlies, and the Kings. All of them playoff teams, right?
Yeah.
Maybe out of those teams, maybe the Kings have the least urgency and the Rockets the least urgency to win, but they don't want to lose either, right? I mean, it is still mathematically possible for both the Rockets and the Kings to get out of the play-in, for the Kings and for the Rockets to not be the number 2 seed. So they want to secure those wins. Absolutely.
Plus, they want to be getting into playoff form. Like, you don't want to be rounding into playoff form when you're in the playoffs. Denver has done it before, but they would rather not. This is the scariest part for the Nuggets. Like, they need some time to heal up. They need full strength roster because they don't have that bench that they used to have. And
the only reason why I'm so relaxed is because the Lakers I don't know how this happened, but good for them, because the dice just rolled in our favor. They own the tiebreaker against every other team except.
So if they tie anybody, they're a game and a half above everybody else.
Game and a half over Denver, and then 2 games over everyone else.
Yeah,
and they need to go 2-2 in their last 4 games.
They have 4 games.
Yeah. So, and the Lakers are playing OKC once again, and they had a really good game against them yesterday. Then Houston, then the Mavs, and then the Blazers. Which, I mean, the Blazers are out unless it comes down to it. They can definitely beat the Blazers. Shout out Tay, shout out Raf. And the other 3, I mean, it's going to be a good test right before the playoffs, honestly.
Listen, if they can't beat the Mavericks, something's wrong. So they should go to.
You never. And Inspired AD is always a threat. Always.
No, I completely agree. But when push comes to shove, at the end of the day, if they can't beat the Mavericks in this scenario, one game, they have serious issues.
Ring the alarms. Yeah. Then I would raise the alarms and I would panic. Unfortunately, and we were talking about this yesterday. You asked me, which team would you like the Lakers to face in the first round? And as it is looking right now, it would be the Warriors. And I'm honestly that's not a team that I would like to face in the playoffs in the first round. Like, give me
Yeah.
Minnesota, give me Memphis. I'll take the Clippers for sure. The Warriors, I don't
Don't get
know.
me wrong,
I don't
I
know
want to see it, but if I were a
for
Lakers fan,
sure.
I would not want that to happen.
Oh, and this is everyone. If that happens, everyone's gonna be drooling over that series, myself
Must
included.
watch TV. That is
Yeah.
must watch TV.
So yeah, this is the first time in a long time that it's been so hard to predict because anything could happen. Literally anything could happen, and I'm okay with not having a full-on prediction for this, and just see where the pieces fall for themselves.
Yeah, that's on the west side of things for sure.
Yeah, the East. The only reason why I'm not talking about it is not that I don't care, but it's pretty much settled, right?
It's
Cleveland on
where
top.
where they're landing. But in
Yeah.
terms of things that you're excited to see, do you have a team or a matchup that you're excited to watch first round?
And that's my segue. I don't know. I think right now, as things stand, I think New York Detroit is going to be such a good series. You have the
Yes, sir.
best turnaround in Detroit. From a team that went into the lottery to now number 6 and a pretty decent number 6 against your New York Knicks. That's going to be must watch. It's going to be.
Let's go.
It's
Let's
going to
go.
be exciting. The Knicks have been really fun to watch, and Detroit, very greedy. They remind me a little bit of the Bad Boys. I hope our boy Isaiah Stewart does not get into any trouble because he's a bit of a hothead. He's
Yeah.
demonstrated already, and it's the playoffs, right? So emotions run very, very high, and it's going to be a lot easier to take things personal.
Yeah. As much as I mean, obviously I'm going to be very much tuned into that first round matchup, but I'm also super interested to see what happens with Minnesota. Sorry, not Minnesota, with Milwaukee. Because with Dame's blood clot injury, his blood clot situation, deep vein thrombosis, it's really forced Giannis to have to carry the team.
Yeah.
And that's impressive. Like, it's been really impressive. What, he had 20 dimes the other day? Like, uncanny. But
I need to watch some of those because I'm sure he got some home. I'm okay with home cooking. I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
but,
of course. But like even flirting with the number of 20, like 100%. He certainly had a lot. It's impressive, but it just doesn't inspire confidence that they can go far. And so I'm really looking forward to see how they've congealed in this iteration of a team. I have no clue how they're going to do and whether or not Dame is going to be able to make it back for the playoffs. But I'm particularly interested in seeing how they play this first round.
I mean, I feel so bad about Dame, honestly. Like he wanted to end his career in Portland. If it hadn't been for Portland literally taking the tanking side of things, he would have stayed probably as long as he had a semi-competitive team. And now he's facing this condition that it's just a big question mark, right? Obviously, we've seen people coming back from it. But it's scary, and for a professional athlete, that's a lot. His future is, I dare to say, somewhat secured.
Yeah,
I think. So is there a need for him to come back? It would be his desire to continue playing the game, which I hope, and I know that it is there, and I hope we can still see him ball. But man, he just stayed too long in Portland, and it feels like a punishment now, where it should be kind of the basketball gods feel like they should reward Dame in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Well, here we are with them. I want to see them do well. I've always enjoyed Giannis since seeing him come into the league.
Yeah.
And I don't want him to get pushed to a different market because they're not winning the way he wants them to. And each year for the past 4 seasons, they've had something tragic kind of happen to their playoff run. Whether it was Giannis getting hurt at the wrong time or Dame in this situation, or people just being out. It's been really unfortunate. Ever since they won their chip, which congratulations on that, they bought themselves a little more time. But it feels like this Sisyphusian task where they just keep working their butts off and only to have that boulder just roll back down the hill and got to start all over again.
And that's what makes me wonder, the future of Milwaukee. Obviously, talking about Giannis here. I mean, he feels like the kind of guy, very much like Kobe did back in his day, right? Where the superstar puts pressure on the team, and the best leverage that he's got is like, well, I'm gonna leave, right? And that puts pressure on the executive team to say, like, all right, we gotta do something here to remain competitive. But I don't know. Giannis doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that might look elsewhere just because he already won there. He doesn't have anything else to prove, literally. But if he decides to go somewhere, if he goes to Miami, would I be shocked? No, I would be surprised. But then I would be like, you know what? He saw an opportunity. Milwaukee didn't do what they didn't do their due diligence with him. Like, do I blame him? No, no. And especially when you have a warning tale in Damian Lillard as your colleague, like,
Yeah.
you kind of learn from that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? He should just call it a day and go to the Knicks with KD, and it'll be fine.
Is this a pitch? Is this the official pitch for Giannis?
Listen, I just want. There's talk, there's rumor that KD is going to get moved in this offseason, and the Knicks are a top choice. And so I'm like, if that happens, Giannis, my boy, like, think of the domination, the way that he plays with Dame, who's an amazing shooter, but you can't get a more fluid shooter than KD. Like, that would be outstanding. I'm not excited about like the breaking up of what New York has right now. But listen, if you could get if you can get Giannis and KD on the same court in Knicks colors,
I mean, can you imagine? I don't know if there's enough dollars to make that happen. I mean,
probably not.
If that requires for you to, I don't know, lease Madison Square Garden, you do it. You do it. Or to maybe ask the Rangers to maybe play in New Jersey. I don't know. You do something about it.
Gotta do something.
But oh my, can you imagine? Like, KD feels more like a de facto thing that he might go to New York, and we might be wrong. We know KD. He's a particular individual when it comes to his views on basketball. He says that he loves playing the sport, and he's basically a nerd, right? So if he doesn't feel that it's gonna work out for him, he won't go there. Like, he allegedly refused to go back to Golden State because it was not right for him. But I can see him, embedding himself in the Knicks and making it happen. And then even I got excited for you. And
I would feel terrible for Milwaukee, but I would feel perfectly fine in New York.
Seeing Giannis in a Knicks jersey would be, I think Adam Silver would probably faint.
Yeah, yeah. And I would be there to catch him and put a little pillow underneath.
Is there any other first round matchup that you're excited about, Lars?
In the East, no, I don't like.
Yeah,
Cleveland and Boston, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. They're gonna destroy their first round matchup. I'm excited / very nervous for the second round matchup because I don't want to see the Knicks play the Celtics, but I also don't want to see the Knicks play the Cavs. So, like, I don't know. Like, I'm feeling lots of feelings about the East side of things.
Yeah.
But in the West, again, it's hard to get excited about anything because nothing's really set. Yeah. But I would love to see the Lakers Warriors. I would also just want to see how Denver attacks whatever they're going to be doing, because I do believe whoever they play the first round, they're going to win, but it's going to be a scrappy win. It's going to have to be, because without Murray, they have to figure out how to exist in a 7-game series. So I'm excited for both of those, for me personally.
If things ended today, let's just assume, let's just take today's seedings as they are. They would be OKC, Grizzlies, definitely OKC, Houston, Minnesota. I don't know. Big question mark for Houston in my books. Lakers, Warriors, must watch TV, like we said. Denver Clippers, which I can see that going to like 6 games, but I would give Denver the edge.
Yeah, I give Denver the edge for sure, as long as Kawhi stays the Kawhi now and not the Toronto Kawhi. Yeah, we're good there.
Which he was named Player of the Week, so I don't know anymore. I feel like
that's 1 week. That's still the most Kawhi thing I've ever heard.
I can watch the NBA, I can watch everything and still, be like, what? Sure, yeah, I don't know. I know that I know nothing for sure.
Fair enough. I'm also kind of excited for the play-in on the West side. I want to see the Mavs make some noise. Like, I know that they're not going to do anything that serious because they still don't have Kyrie.
Yeah.
But an invigorated Anthony Davis with less pressure Like they're not expected to do anything this year. With the Lakers, he was always expected to be the best player on the court, even though he clearly wasn't.
Yeah.
And so he has no pressure. He can be the guy. He doesn't have to be the guy. They've got excellent defense there. Like I want to see them. I honestly want to see them destroy the Kings. I don't expect them to, but I want to see that happen. And then put up a valiant effort against the Thunder. I don't expect them to win, but I'd love to see it happen.
I can see that, out of those 4 teams as they are right now, like Minnesota, Memphis, Sacramento, Dallas, I can see the Mavs sneaking on the 8th place, right? Minnesota beating Memphis, and then the Mavs beating the Kings. I can totally see that. And then the Mavs pulling off the upset, quote unquote, on Memphis. I can see that. I can totally see that.
Totally see that. I can totally see that.
And then putting up, like you said, a valiant effort against OKC. And because the pressure is off, no one is expecting them to do anything. Like, I'm just regurgitating what you're saying. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. On the other side, the East, Orlando, Atlanta, Chicago, and Miami. I mean,
I just don't care. Like nothing. Neither the crazy part is in the East. Number 1 and number 2, they're so much better than the rest of the East that the play-in doesn't matter on the East for me.
Yeah, and I think I heard over the weekend. I cannot remember who told me this or if I heard it somewhere, and I apologize for not citing my source, but it's somewhere there. When are we gonna give Orlando, or when are we gonna stop treating Orlando as a feel-good story? Yes, they are young. Yes, but they've got enough seasons, at least a couple, to figure things out. And yes, everybody got injured, but they have their whole team, or at least 95% of their team back for the last quarter of the season, and they're in playing territory, which only makes you feel even better about Detroit. But Orlando, I don't know.
Orlando has that similar thing where they have seemed like world beaters for a game. Yeah. But you can't be a world beater for a game and expect success. Like it has to be sustained.
That's right.
I'm also super interested in seeing. I think we talked about it already a little bit, but the way the Bucks are coming into the playoffs right now, I think they're basically stumbling into the playoffs. I think they've won 6 of their last 12 games, but they're guaranteed 6th place right now, I believe, mathematically. So it's like there's clearly 3 tiers. There's the 1 and the 2. There's that middle jumbled section, which they just got to fight for dominance, and then you got the play-in. And so it's the exact opposite of the West, where everything is everywhere. And I think I'm just ready for playoff basketball. I
think we all are.
Who's finally ready? Got what, 4 games left for most teams?
3 to 4. Yeah, the maximum number of games that teams have left is 4, except for no. Yeah, 4 games.
Yeah, I think so. Ooh, and I think is this the year that we're going to get Round Ball Rock, the theme song, coming back into the playoffs?
I think so. I can't remember now, but I think it is.
I hope so. That will just set my heart aflutter. Very excited about that.
If you don't know what we're talking about, just YouTube, Google Round Ball Rock. Don't click on the SNL skit. You might get it. You can still hear it, but the actual author, composer, I suppose, of the song, he takes you through how he came up with it, and it's even phenomenal, funnier than the SNL skit. I guarantee it.
For sure. I do want to give a little bit of a shout out now. For the listeners, we have 2 tournaments going: the women's tournament challenge, bracket challenge, and the men's tournament brackets challenge. The men's, we may have a Dropping Dimes co-host winning. It might be Blake, depending on who wins tonight. And I will say, yours truly has won the women's bracket. So thank you. Hold your applause. No, I'm very excited. It was a lot of fun watching that thing. We definitely have to run that back and keep that
100%. Yeah. No, that is now a Dropping Dime staple that, we have an open bracket. We let the listeners, our followers, join in on the fun. And, we just see who drops and who wins at last. And Lars, congratulations.
Thank you.
You won the women's side.
Really creative names for their brackets this year too.
100%, yeah.
somebody was saying, I picked Blake because of Kentucky. Or I picked Kentucky because of Blake was their team name, and I was like, I'm here for that. That's great.
Gotta love the names for fantasy basketball.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that was short, but really, really sweet. Like we said, it's just 4 games left in the season. Playoff basketball is here. We're watching the final of the men's March Madness tournament today. What a great month we're about to have for basketball. And we have the WNBA draft in a week's time. And then the WNBA season starts in about a month's time as well. So
Lots to
tune
look
in.
forward to.
This is not
Lots to
just
look
the
forward to.
NBA. There's a lot to talk about still. All right. As usual, if you're following us, make sure that you're following us on Spotify and share the love with a friend. Send them the link. Tell them like, hey, I know these guys. They're awesome. They have fun. There's a delusional Lakers fan on this. You're gonna love him or hate him. They'll listen to it. Trust me. Make sure that you follow us on Instagram at dropping.dimes. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can see all of the episodes. If you want to get a hold of us, just send us a DM on Instagram. We always reply. Or for a more formal method, send us an email at contact@droppingdimes.com. Any parting words, Lars?
Just that your Houston folk are currently up on Florida 20 points to 16 points. So we'll see what happens.
Let's go watch that thing.
All right,
folks. Until next time, this is Dropping Dimes crew signing off. Peace, love, basketball. Houston. Adios.